Hello, coloristas. This is my first time to make a video blog about coloring, and so please do forgive me if I make some mistakes or make long pauses because my brain has to catch up with what I'm doing, and I have to be able to describe what I want to teach you or to share with you. Also, please bear with me with the noise outside my window because I just live near the very busy street, and that's something I cannot control. Um, all right, so I've received a couple of inquiries or queries about how I did this. This is a coloring of a flower, which I just did this morning. Na sabi ko nga in my post, is for my sister's wedding in a couple of weeks. And this sheet I got from this book, which is called Nature Coloring for Mindfulness, and it says here it includes detachable sheets. So actually I got 3 from this book, and these are the ones I've been coloring for a couple of days now, and I think she wants to use them for her thank you cards for her wedding guests. So anyway, some of you were just curious about what how I colored this pink flower, and which is essentially how I would be coloring the rest of the flowers in the sheet. Okay, so to begin with, I used this. It's called Rose Carmine, and it's from my set of polychromos of Faber-Castell. But then again, you can use any colored pencil that you wish. I'm not into watercolor pencil medium right now, so I don't know if it'll work if you add water if you do use watercolor pencil, but for now I'd like to stick to the dry medium, which is colored pencil. So just to discuss a bit now, I chose, well, as you would see, this is not, this pattern or this figure that you see on the page is not a flat flower. So if you train your eyes very well to see, you'd be able to distinguish images that are flat and images that are sort of 3D. But they still appear flat because they come from, they are uncolored. But the idea is for you to choose 3D pictures to color, as opposed to, say, I'll show you some, this, as opposed to this. If you imagine this, I don't know if it's a star, it's a cross between a star and a flower, but it appears flat, obviously. Or, oh, by the way, this book is Vintage Patterns Creative Coloring for Grown-ups, and I kind of liked it, and I bought it for a bargain. It's $299 along in fully booked when I bought it that time. But I was attracted to the floral patterns, and such as this. This is an example of a 3D pattern. So if you start coloring that, especially guided by the lines and the dark shades, the shadows, you will be able to know how to color it properly. You will be guided. However, let's see some more. A few more examples there. This one is pretty flat, obviously. There's not much dimension. So the way to color it is perhaps just to shade from light to dark or introduce blending with 2 colors, but not so much creativity there that you could introduce in terms of perspective and dimension. This is an example of a 3D flower. All right, so more or less I think you have an idea already kung how it is to choose the 3D pattern you would like to color. Now let's go back and choose something here at random that I could use as an example. Ooh, noisy brakes. As an example, oh, here you go. As an example for coloring. using my 3D technique. In my coaching, I tell the people, the coloristas that are eager to learn how I do it, I tell them to use that I use the flick technique. Flick, 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 like you just flick the pencil in an upward and quick motion, and it's more of movement of your wrists and not so much keeping it heavy on the paper. It's the initial point that is actually the darkest because so I'll be coloring this one, this figure. So it's the point that is supposed to appear darker, where you put the tip first. That's going to be the darkest part that you'll be coloring, at least on that area. So if you're gonna flick this, okay, that's how you do it. Just flick. There is a rhythm to flicking. You can do it faster, but you're still flicking. You can do it slower, which I would advise if you're just beginning to learn the technique, because I will tell you later. So just to tell you first that there are, how do you call it? Types of speeds for flicking. It's up to you. If you're already used to it, or if you think you already know much about the image and how to attack it or color it, then flick away. But for now, I'm just keeping it slow. Also because, and this is the part I really want to share with you. For me, coloring for mindfulness is different from coloring per se. Because for me, coloring for mindfulness is letting your mind interact with the pattern and letting the pattern